Hi, everybody. This video is going to help you walk through the basic trump play of the hand lesson on simple finesses. I'm going to walk through the basics of simple finessing. Before I do that, I want to remind you about making a declare plan. If you've been with us in this series up to this point, you know that we started with the concept of you have to make a plan as a declarer before you call a single card from dummy. Your job is to look at the dummy hand, your own declare hand, and work in a logical progression to make your contract. This is before you call a single card from dummy. So what we talked about several weeks ago was the idea that you should gather your first thoughts. You need to know how many tricks you need to make your contract, how many you can afford to lose. Then you survey from the opening lead, when do you think you can win the earliest reasonable trick? You have work to do. You have to figure out when you're going to get the lead from the opponents. Is it going to be on trick one? Great. But if not, when do you think that would happen, and what are the implications of that? Okay. Now, when you gain your first early reasonable trick, your first job in this entire series that we're talking about, your first job is to pull trump. There are no situations, none, in this series one of basic trump play of the hand where a declarer does not pull trump from the opponents. And that's even including you don't have all the high trump. You're still going to pull trump. In our series two of basic trump play of the hand, we will talk about those times when pulling trump could be dangerous to your partnership. But in series one, you are always pulling trump. That's your first job. Then we spend the bulk of our time in this series on developing the other suits to earn extra tricks. It's rare that the dummy comes down, you look at dummy, you look at declare hand, you need 10 tricks, voila, there they are, easy to see. Doesn't usually work that way. So we've been putting tools in our toolbox, techniques that will help you generate extra tricks when you're the declarer in a trump contract. Now, I am not going to review the first two sessions on establishing a long suit and promoting suits. You have actual review information in this practice package, this PDF for this class. I gave you that with some sample hands so that you could try and refresh your memory. And that's important because today, as we talk about simple finessing, your worksheet hands later in the packet are not only going to have simple finesses, yes, they are, but many of them will also have a secondary technique that you have to employ, promotion or establishing a long suit. Okay, so it would be good for you to look at those first couple of examples where I review the past classes. But now I want to focus just today on simple finessing. So here we go. What is a simple finesse? Well, a simple finesse is a technique that you use to create an extra trick or tricks that didn't exist before, because you might have some honors in your hand, but you don't have all of them. In fact, you might have a missing honor in the middle of an honor sandwich. For instance, you own the ace and the queen of a suit, but not the king. So you're missing the king in the middle of that ace and queen honor sandwich. So the idea is you want to create an extra winner out of that. Right now, the only winner you have is the ace. Wouldn't it be nice if you could also turn that queen into a winner? So your goal in finessing is to look at your honors, and you have some missing honor, an honor or honors, and you want to figure out, how can I make the lower honors winners as well? How can I figure out the best way of turning those lower honors into winners? Now, finessing relies on a favorable position of whatever honors you're missing. And by that, I mean, you need that missing honor to be in exactly the right opponent's hand for you to get that lower honor pushed to winner status, right? Now, when you're missing an honor, let's say go back to my scenario. You have the ace and you have the queen in a suit, but you're missing the king. That king is either in your right hand opponent's hand or your left-hand opponent's hand, right? Correct? So you are hoping that the missing honor, in this case, that king, is sitting in the opponent's hand where it's going to do you the most good. That's what I mean by a favorable position for the location of that missing honor. And we'll expand on that now in a minute. A simple finesse is a 50% chance. It's a 50-50 chance of working. It's either going to work or it won't. All right. It's either on your left or your right. So it's either going to work or it doesn't. So keep that in mind as we continue. Now, on pages 9 through 14, you have 4 examples of different kinds of finesses. And those are the examples I'm going to walk through with you in this video. I'm going to walk through all the different considerations in terms of how you view a simple finesse for each of those different kinds of finesses, simple finesses, on pages 9 through 14. After I'm done with that, your job is to go a little later in the package, starting on page 15, where the worksheet examples are, where I gave you blanks on a bunch of different hands, for you to employ the entire process of making a plan, right? Pulling trump, and then assessing how you're going to get the extra tricks. Now, every one of those worksheet hands are going to have a simple finesse. They absolutely are. But they might also have promotion. They might also have length. So I'm going to walk through the 4 examples on pages 9 through 14 in your packet, trying to explain as many of the different kind of finesses as you might encounter in those worksheet packets. But your job is to go to those worksheet pages and work through your own version of each of those finessing examples. And that's when you're going to send me an email when you're stuck, okay, when you need some help. But this is your explanation of how it works. It's going to be your job to do some facilitating of your own learning on this by working through those worksheet examples. So let's get started on pages 9 through 14. I'm going to take a look at example A with you. All right, so you're the declarer in a contract. You've taken a look at what you need to make your contract, your first thoughts. You've earned your early reasonable trick. You've pulled trump from the opponents. And now you're looking at all the rest of the cards in your suits and you're saying, well, I need to gain extra tricks somewhere. Do I have a finesse? And you say, wow, look at this example. I've got the ace and I have the queen, but I don't have the king. And so the first thing you do when you consider a simple finesse is you have to look for the gap in that suit. The gap is where the missing honor would sit nice and comfortably with the other honors if you owned it, okay? So first of all, you have to know what is the honor that you're missing, right? Then, where would that honor snuggle comfortably if you did have it? So taking a look at this example on my screen, declarer is really hoping to win 2 tricks in this suit. The ace is always winning, but what about that queen? If the declarer could get that queen in dummy's hand to win a trick, that would be an extra trick. Now, you're missing the king. And if you owned the king, where he would be nestled comfortably is between the ace and the queen in dummy's hand. Now, that isn't to say that the king couldn't be over here in declarer's hand if you had him. Yes, he could. But I'm asking you to think about where would that king sit if he were with the other honors. So in this case, because your 2 honors are together on the same side of the table, if you owned the king as well, it would be nice if you were nestled right in between that ace and that queen. If you've had me in class before, you've heard me refer to it as being next to his spear, because that looks like a spear tip to me, and his wife. So if you had the king, he'd be between his spear and his wife, right? Okay. So the first thing you do is you figure out where's the gap. Where would the missing card sit? So on this hand, the gap is in dummy's hand, dummy side of the table, between the ace and the queen. So that's your first job. Where's the gap? What honor am I missing? Where's the gap? Then you have to think to yourself, where do you want that missing king to be located? On your right or on your left? Well, assume that you're declarer, right? You're declarer. Look, you're the one who has the 6 and the 3. You look across the table, that's where dummy is. Where do you want the missing king of spades here to be located? Do you want him to be on your left or on your right in this scenario? Well, I would want him on my left. I want him in left-hand opponent's hand. Why? Because I want to be able to play that queen of spades across the table without the person on the right of me then gobbling him up with a king. I don't want the king in the right-hand opponent's hand. I want it in the left-hand opponent's hand. So that when I go and play that queen across the table, the next person to play, the person on my right, does not have the king to gobble it up, and then my queen would win. So let's talk about this. It's 50-50. You don't know where the king is. You hope it's the opponent you want it to be. So how would you play this finesse? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to lead a small card from the opposite side of the table from the gap. You are leading toward the gap. And if we've already said the gap is in dummy, that means that you are leading from declarer's hand in this example. You're going to lead the 3 of spades from declarer's hand. Okay? Now, you are forcing the next player, the player in front of you, to commit to a card in this suit. That's important because that's where that opponent can make a mistake. If that's the opponent who has the missing king of spades, that person has to go, ooh, 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 ooh. Now remember, they can see dummy, can't they? So they have to decide what to do. That opponent has to commit to a card. I should say this up front. Finessing is all about commitment and hope. Okay? A simple finesse is very much about commitment and hope. So here's the first part. You are forcing the next opponent after you lead to commit to a card in this suit. If that opponent plays the king of spades, that's a commitment to that higher card. If they play a low card, that's a commitment to that lower card. Now, if that next opponent, right now we're talking about the person on your left, if they commit to the missing king of spades, well, yay. You can capture it with dummy's ace, and then dummy's queen of spades is a winner a little later, or right now if you want to, whichever, automatically, because they played the king of spades, and you were able to capture it with the ace, and your queen automatically becomes the next winner in the suit. And yes, you earned 2 tricks in this suit. Now, when the left-hand opponent in this case can see dummy, they are unlikely to play that king of spades, okay? They're really not likely to do that. If that opponent on your left commits to a lower card, a small spade in the suit, then you have to take a deep breath and you have to play dummy's queen of spades, the lower ranking honor. And this is where the hope comes in. So you've led the 3 of spades. The person on your left plays a low spade. You have to then take a deep breath and you have to commit the queen of spades now and hope. What are you hoping for? Well, you're hoping that when the next opponent plays a card, they don't play the king of spades. If the next opponent, the person on your right, plays that missing king, well, they're going to capture your lower honor, your queen, and you lose the finesse, and your lower honor does not win a trick. You only get 1 trick on this. You only get the ace. But if the person on your right plays low, then dummy's queen wins the trick, doesn't it? You did make the lower honor a winner, and now you know for sure where the missing king of spades is. It's on your left. Just so that you figure that out. Because if the person on your right has that king of spades, they absolutely need to play that king of spades on your queen of spades. They absolutely have to. They not only have to win the trick, but they need to take your honor with them. If the person on your right actually has the king and they don't play it, why would they want to let your queen win the trick? They don't want to let you win extra tricks. So if the person on your left, I'll go back for a minute, okay? Let me go back. You're going to lead the 3 of spades, okay? You're forcing the person, in this case, this is on your left, the person on your left. You're forcing that person to commit a card in this suit. They have to think, Freddy scared, okay? If that opponent commits to playing the king, yay, you can capture it with dummy's ace, and your queen is the next winner in this suit. And yes, you've earned 2 winners in this spade suit. All right. If the opponent on your left commits a lower card, let's say the 4 of spades, then you have to be brave. You're trying to turn a lower honor into a winner, so you have to do it. You have to take a deep breath. You have to play that queen of spades from dummy, and then you have to cross your fingers and hope. What you're hoping for is that the person on your right does not have that king of spades. But if that person on your right does have the king of spades, well, they are absolutely going to play it, and you lose the finesse, and you only get 1 winner. Your lower honor does not win a trick. But if the person on your right plays low, that means they don't have the king. And your dummy's queen just won an extra trick in this hand, a trick that she wasn't expecting to win. Yay. Now you know the first opponent has that missing king, because the person on your right would have played it if he had it. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's go look at example B. Again, we're looking at this hand. It's a new hand now. You have the ace, you have the king, you have the jack and 7 in dummy. What is the honor that you're missing? Well, you're missing the queen, right? And where's the gap? Where would the queen fit snugly in a row with the other honors if you owned the queen? Well, I would pop her right in between the king and the jack. If you've had me in class before, you know that I'm going to say that if you owned the queen, she'd be nestled comfortably between her husband, the king, and her lover, the jack. So if you had the queen, she would be plopped very neatly in between the king and the jack. You'd have 4 honors in a row. So far, so good. Does that make sense? Declare would like to win 3 tricks here, for sure. Would like to win the ace, the king, and the jack, even that lower honor. But missing the queen, that's a problem. So if you had the queen again, she would be with the other honors. She'd be between the king and the jack. The gap, therefore, is between the king and the jack in dummy's hand. And that's what you need to know to start with, is where is the gap? Because your job is to play toward the gap from the opposite side of the table. Where do you want the missing queen to be located? On your left or on your right? So take a look at this hand, your declarer. Dummy is across the table from you. Where do you want the missing queen to be? In your left-hand opponent's hand or your right-hand opponent's hand? Well, you want it on your left, right? Correct? You want to play that lower ranking honor, that jack, and you don't want the person on your right to have the queen. You don't want that person gobbling up that jack. So you're really, really hoping that the missing queen is sitting on your left, but it's a 50-50 proposition. You don't know where it is. One of the opponents have it, but you don't know where. So how would you play this hand? I would start from across the table from the gap. If the gap is in dummy, where the missing queen would sit, right? You've got a gaping hole between the king and the jack. That's the gap. You start from across the table. You lead the 3 of hearts. All right, you're leading toward the gap. You are forcing the person on your left, the opponent on your left, the player in front of you, to commit to a card in this heart suit. You're going to force that person to decide what to do. Now, that person can see dummy right now, can see what you're doing. If that's the person who owns the queen, they are unlikely to play it, just so you know. They are hoping you make a mistake. If they play smoothly, in tempo, without waiting, then playing a low honor, I'll know where the queen is. I'll know where it is. So that person seeing that hole in dummy, and if they have the queen, they know what you're doing. So you lead the 3 of clubs from your declare hand. That person needs to be prepared. They have to choose a heart card here. They are likely to play low. They don't want to give you that queen, because what they're hoping you're going to do is get afraid and play the ace or the king instead of playing that lower jack. So you're forcing that person on your left to make a commitment, right? They're either going to play the queen or they're going to play a low card. If the opponent does commit to playing the missing queen, maybe it's a singleton, then this is easy peasy. You capture it with your ace or your king of hearts, right? Then your other honor, high honor, is a winner, and your jack and dummy, it becomes a winner. You absolutely earn 3 winners on this hand. Yay, that's what you wanted. You wanted 3 winners in this heart suit. If the opponent on your left, though, plays a low heart after you've led the 3 of hearts, you have to be brave. You have to take a deep cleansing breath, and you have to play dummy's jack. Remember, you're trying to make that jack a winner. You want 3 winning tricks in this suit. You're going to get the ace and the king anyway. You're trying to turn that jack into a winner. So you've got to take a deep breath. You've got to play the jack, and then you've got to cross your fingers and hope, because you don't know where the missing queen is. It's either on your left or your right. Now, the fourth person is going to play. The person on your right is going to play a card in the heart suit. If that person does play the missing queen, well, they're going to gobble up your jack from dummy, and you lose the finesse, and the jack does not win a trick, and you only, and you only win 2 tricks in this suit, the ace and the king. Well, you were going to win those 2 anyway. What you really want to do is win a 3rd trick with the jack. If, though, the person on your right plays a low heart, your jack wins the trick, right? Your jack wins the trick. And now you know that the person on your left had the missing queen. You go cash your ace, you go cash your king. You've won 3 tricks on this hand. You've turned that lower honor, jack, into a winner by being brave. All right? Now, let's look at this hand in example C. This one is going to look a little different from the first 2. In the first 2, you had all of your honors in one place, on one side of the table. It's easy to see the gap when all of the honors you own are all together on one side of the table. But that's not always how it's going to be, okay? In this hand, you have the ace, the queen, the jack, the 10, the 9. Where's the gap? All right, so let's start actually from the beginning. What's the honor you're missing? Right? We're missing the king of diamonds. But where would that honor snuggle comfortably if you did have it? That's an important question here. You have split honors. So, Declarer wants to win 4 tricks in this suit. Declarer wants to win the ace, the king, the queen, the ace, the queen, the jack, and the 10, or the 9. They're all the same card over there in Declarer's hand, right? But you want to win 4 of those honors, all 4 honors. Every time you play diamonds, you want to win a trick. But you're missing the king. This one's harder to see. The gap is actually between Declarer's hand and Dummy's hand. That's where the gap is. It's not on a specific side of the table. It's actually sort of in between. It's on your left. That's where the gap is. If you owned the missing king, he could either be nestled in your Declare hand right in front of the queen. That would be fine. Or he could be nestled over in Dummy's hand right underneath the ace. Either way, it would work. So your hole, if you will, your gap is actually in between the two hands on your left. That's where you're going to play through, because what you're trying to do here is you're trying to trap the king. You want the king to be in your left-hand opponent's hand. It's still a 50-50 proposition. One of the opponents still has the king. But you really need it to be in left-hand opponent's hand in this example, because what you're going to try and do is entice him to play his king, if he has it, to trap it. Okay? Now, so how would you play this hand? If the gap is between the declare and dummy's hand, you have to play a lower ranking honor to begin with. You want to trap that king in your little vile snare. You're going to lead declarer's queen. Now, yes, it's true. The 10, the 9, the jack, the queen are all the same cards, right? But I want you to get used to certain patterns and certain behaviors. So I'm going to tell you that you should lead the queen. Does it really matter on this hand? It does not. But as you move further down in your bridge career, there are going to be times when it really will matter that you're dangling a higher honor that at least is visually higher to the opponent. So you should absolutely lead the queen of diamonds on this hand. Queen of diamonds. Now, you're still leading towards the gap, right? Into the opponent's hand on your left. What is that opponent going to do? Well, you're forcing that opponent to commit to a card. Now, if that opponent does in fact have the king and they play it, then you can capture it with the ace, right? And if you capture it with the ace, the good news is your jack, your 10, your 9 become winners right away. You do earn 4 winners in this suit. So before I talk about what if they don't play the king, let's talk about why they might play the king. Remember that the person on your left has no idea how many diamond honors you have. Now, I would not lead it this way if I didn't have at least the jack underneath the queen. When you lead a finesse this way, where you're starting on one side of the table to try and trap the missing honor over towards the higher honor, you need to have 2 honors at least on your side of the table. You need to have a supported honor. So you would not even do this this way if you did not have the jack to go with the queen. In your worksheet packets, you have an example of a hand where you have the ace on one side of the table, the queen on the other, and no jack, no 10, no 9. What do you do then? That's why you have to go look at the worksheets. So in order for you to trap a missing honor, where you're going to lead an honor from a lower ranking honor, an honor below the missing honor, from one side of the table towards a higher honor on the other side, you must have that lower honor supported. So all your left-hand opponent knows right now is that you do have the jack. Depending on how many cards in this diamond suit the player on your left has, it is possible they might lead the king if they have. They might play the king if they have it. Why? Because he knows he will force you to play 2 honors to win this trick. If you lead the queen of diamonds and he plays the king, yes, you have to play the ace if you want to win the trick. And you've just burned 2 honors to do that, and he made you do that. Yes, he's going to assume you have the jack, but if he's sitting on some long diamonds, assume you don't have the 10 and the 9. If he's got the 10 and the 9 and the 8 and 4 or more diamonds, it might be worth it to him to force the ace and the queen out of your hand right now. Yes, he knows you have the jack, because you wouldn't have done this without a supported queen. But maybe he's thinking down the road in the hand. He might get a diamond trick or 2 later if he forces you to start playing your honors willy-nilly now. So it is possible that the left-hand opponent, even seeing the ace and dummy in this scenario, would play the queen to force you to play the queen, to force you to play the ace, sorry, to force you to have started with the queen and then have to play the ace over his king. It's a possibility, but it would depend on that person having more diamonds and probably the 10, the 9, the 7, okay? So that's a possibility. But if the person on your left plays a low diamond, again, we're back to being brave. You have to allow that queen of diamonds to possibly win a trick. So how do you do that? You have to take a deep breath and play the 4 of diamonds and dummy low. Don't play the ace. You're trying to turn the queen of diamonds into a winner right now. So you've played the queen of diamonds. The person on your left plays low. You take a deep breath and call for the 4 of diamonds and dummy and cross your fingers and hope. Okay? If the person on your right plays that missing king, well, there was nothing you could do about it. You were always going to lose the queen to that king. Yes, you still have the ace. And yes, you're going to win the jack and the 10, let's say. But you'll only get 3 tricks in this suit, and you really wanted to get 4. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a 50-50 proposition. There was no way you could have played this hand that would have stopped him from getting his king. There just isn't. There isn't. So if he plays the king, well, then, yeah, you're out of luck. But, and there's a word for that I have been talking, I haven't said it much. I haven't said it yet, but when the missing honor is in exactly the wrong place, on the wrong side of you, we call that being offsides. Okay? It was in the wrong position for you to win your lower honor. If it's in that wrong position, it's called being offsides. But what if the person on your right, you've led the queen of diamonds, the person on your left plays low, you take a deep breath and play that 4 of diamonds from dummy, and the person on your right plays a low diamond. Well, your queen just won the trick, right? It means that the person on your left does have the king, didn't play it, and the reason why he didn't play it was he was hoping you would get cold feet. He was hoping that even though you led the queen, that you would get Freddy scared, and when it came time to play the dummy, you went ace. I've watched it happen so many times over the years. I want to win the trick. I want to make sure I win the trick. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen it happen. So if the person on your left plays low, and you play low and dummy, and the person on your right plays low, then your queen from your declare hand wins the trick. And the person on your left was trying to fool you, right? That means that the king is sitting on your left. It is on sides. It's in exactly the place you want it to be. And your queen of diamonds has just won a trick. But you now know where the king of diamonds is. It's on your left. So you're not done. After you've won that queen of diamonds, you have won the trick in declare's hand. You got to finesse again. Because you know where the king is. It's on your left. So now you're going to lead the jack of diamonds from your declare hand. If the person on your left plays low again, great. Play the 9 in dummy. Oh, I have 2 9s. Make that the 8 up here. Okay, that's the 8. Sorry about that. So play the 8 of diamonds from dummy. Right? Because you know the king is sitting over on your left. If the person on your left instead played the king, well, then you would play the ace, and your 10 and your 9 are good. All right? So you can still win 4 tricks, but you have to finesse again. The first time, your queen of diamonds won. When it wins, play the jack. Wait for the person on your left to play. Make them commit. If they play the king, play the ace, and your 10 and 9 are good. If they play low, you play low, and your jack will win the trick. And then you can win your ace and you can win your 10. All right? So let's assume that the person on your left did play low and the jack wins the trick. The person on your left is just stubbornly refusing to play that king of diamonds. No worries. We've won the queen of diamonds. We've won the jack of diamonds. We're still in declare's hand. It's perfect. Let's play the 10 of diamonds. I will assume now the king has to be played. They probably could only hold it up a couple times. So if they do play the king now, you play the ace. And then your 9's the next winner. You do get 4 winners. So this finesse required some extra work. Number 1, your honors were not all lined up on one side of the table, were they? No, they were not. The second thing is, you have to consider your gap is actually between the 2 hands. You really, 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 really hope that the left-hand opponent has it. And you're going to lead an honor from, in this case, from declarer's hand. You're going to lead the low honor because you have a higher honor across the table. You can capture the missing king of diamonds if they play it. You lead a lower honor because you're trying to trap the missing king. You're trying to trap it in your snare because if they play it, you can still win. Okay? I want you to go way, way back to the very first thing I did here. I said the gap was between the two hands. I also said you're going to lead your queen of diamonds. And I said that we went through a lot of things about poor left-hand opponent and what he has to do. Let's suppose, though, I'm doing a suppose now. Suppose, yes, you know where the gap is. Yes, you want to trap that king if it's in left-hand opponent's hand. You play your queen of diamonds. Left-hand opponent plays low. You bravely play the 4 over in dummy. And then your right-hand opponent plays the king. Oh, no. Your right-hand opponent has the missing king. Oh, bummer. Well, there was nothing you could do about it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're going to take the king. They're going to capture your queen. But you'll still end up with 3 winners on this hand. You'll have the ace. You'll have the jack. You'll have the 10. That's 3 winners. You really wanted 4, but there's nothing you can do about it if the missing honor, in this case, the king of diamonds, is sitting off sides over on your right. Okay? Nothing you could do about it. There was no way to play this hand differently. You always play toward and into the gap. Okay? Let's go look at our last example, example D. So this one is different yet. This one is going to be one where you're going to miss every single time because you think it's a worthless holding. You think you don't have anything good to do with this club suit. But I'm going to tell you that this is a simple finesse. It is, because it follows the same general principle in that the honor that you have is either going to win a trick or it won't. Right? What is the honor that you're missing here? It's the ace. You don't have the ace of clubs. Now, where would that honor fit if it fits snugly with the other good card that you have? Right? You'd like to win one trick on this hand. You'd like to win that king of clubs. You are missing the ace, and if you had it, it would be snuggled up against the king in dummy's hand. That's where you want the ace to be, if you owned it. Right? And if that's true, you want the missing ace to not be on your right. You want it to be on your left. You want to force the person on your left to commit to playing a club on this hand so that you can play your king, right? It's still a 50-50 proposition. It's going to work or it won't. It really depends on where that missing ace is. So the gap is still over in dummy. It's still between the two hands, if you will. You're going to play toward that king of clubs because it's going to win a trick or it won't. So from your declarer hand, you're going to lead the 2 of clubs. You are leading across from the gap, and you're leading to where the ace would be if you had it. Now you're forcing the person on your left to commit to a card. Aren't you? I mean, that's what you're doing. You're putting that person in the hot seat. They have to play a card. Now, if the person on your left plays the missing ace, you should play low and dummy. And this is fantastic because your king of clubs was just essentially promoted to a winner. And the next time you get on lead, you can go and take that winning king of clubs. But if the person on your left plays a low club, then you have to take a deep breath, cross your fingers, and play dummy's king of clubs and hope, right? This is all about hope. It's going to win or it's not. If the person on your right plays the ace, there was nothing you could do about it. You're going to lose the king, but that's it. You know, there's not there. You don't have a winner in this suit. but you didn't have any other options to try and get an extra winner in this suit. That ace is off sides. It's in the wrong position for you to win the king of clubs. But you're giving it a 50-50 shot. You're giving it a shot. Now, when you lead the two of clubs and the person on your left plays low and you put in the king and the person on your right plays a low club, well, then your king just won the trick, didn't it? It means the person on your left did have the ace. They didn't play it. That ace was on sides. Here's what the person on your left was really hoping for. The person on your left said, well, once you led the two of clubs and that person on your left did have the ace and they played low, they were hoping you would get cold feet and just play a low club, not even giving the king a try. Because it means they get to live another day to wait for you to maybe play that king from the wrong side of the table and they take it with their ace. They're hoping that you screw it up somehow. But that ace of clubs is on sides. It's exactly in the opponent's hand that you need it to be. Because you are committing that person to make a decision. And if they play their ace, great, your king is good later. If they play a low card, you put in your king and hope. Okay? So, this example doesn't look like our earlier finesses. And boy, this one is hard to see. But it's still the same general concept. You're trying to create a winner where there wasn't one. You're trying to create a winner with an honor card when you don't have a higher honor card, when you are missing an honor card that would protect it. And you need that missing honor card to be in exactly the right opponent's hand. So, those are 4 different examples of different ways that you can finesse. Some of them are easier to see than others. Let me just talk about a few last thoughts. Many players think that they should start the finesse by actually leading that lower honor, the one they want to turn into a winner. So you look at the example here on my screen, I have the ace, I have the queen, I'm missing the king. There are some players who, when they first learn finessing, think, well, I'm just going to lead the queen. They're not leading toward it. They're not saying to themselves, the gap is in between the ace and the queen, and I'm going to start from the opposite side of the table and play toward that gap. No, instead they go, well, I think I'll just lead the queen and see what happens. It's a bad idea, because if you wanted to win 2 tricks here and you lead the queen, what's going to happen is if the person on your right has the king and they can see dummy, they can see you have the ace in dummy, well, they're going to play their king every single time, right? They're going to win the trick and you just handed them your queen. And most of the time, when you play the lower honor, the one you're trying to turn into a winner, if you lead with that and you're giving both opponents a bite at that apple, one of them is going to take the king. You didn't give them, they don't have to think about it. They're watching you play the queen as your first lead in the suit. Either one of them is going to have the winner to beat it. You're never getting that queen. It is the reason why it's called a finesse is that you're forcing one opponent to think about, should I, shouldn't I, should I, should, what is she going to do? Is she going to play that queen? Whereas if you just lead that queen outright, all you're doing is letting both opponents, whichever one has the king, win it. All right, so it's a bad strategy. Don't lead the lower honor you're trying to turn into a winner. Lead toward it. Force a first opponent to commit to a card. And if they play their higher honor, well, then they're just helping you, okay? So you really do have to lead toward the gap for a finesse to work. You got to put pressure on at least one opponent to commit a card, and then you'll play your queen and see what happens. I showed you 4 examples where the gap was always in, actually it was always in dummy, not declare. I gave you 4 examples where we started, declare hand was on the bottom, dummy hand was on the top, and all the finesses went that direction. I did that for consistency. I did that so that you could see as the examples were going along, but you do need to understand that finesses can be on either side of the table. And when you look at the worksheets, you're going to see that sometimes a finesse is down here in one hand, or it's over there in the other hand. And you have to know where your gap is. You have to know where you're going to start the finesse. Sometimes you have to figure out how you get to that side of the hand to start a finesse toward a gap. Okay, so that's in the worksheet hands that you're going to have to take a look at. Finally, I haven't shown you everything about simple finesses. I just, I didn't want you watching a 2-hour video. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff about finesses, and there's a little bit more in your worksheet hands that I didn't really talk about. That's why I want you to start working on those worksheet hands and emailing me before Thursday so I can try and work out some kinks for you, okay? Because Thursday, we're going to play hands in Shark Bridge that are going to get progressively more and more challenging, but they're going to look a lot like the worksheet hands, okay? If you can do the worksheet hands, those are the kind of hands you're going to look at on Thursday when we go into Shark to play as declares, okay? All right, my friends. So I'm hoping that you found this video helpful. I'm hoping that you were able to use it alongside the PDF. If you have any questions at all that you want to ask, I'm going to change what I was about to say, because I was going to say, if you have any questions at all, email me. You're going to have questions. Finesses took me, I'll be honest with you, simple finesses took me a while, and advanced finesses I'm still not good at, because there's so much more to think about. But we're not even dealing with advanced finesses yet. I'm still not good at them. I'm not. So let's see how you do. Go through your worksheet examples. You have all the answers. And send me questions if you're working on them and you're stuck. Okay? All right. I'll talk to you in class.